he directs through his talent and not with ego. He doesn't play games with that. So it's very rewarding to work with him.
Then it got down to like the kids on the bus who were on their way to the work farm, you know, for the juvenile offenders. And I had seen Renely Santiago in Dangerous Minds and thought he was one of the most dynamic young actors around. And Trina Davis came in and read as LaTanya and just ripped up the screen. Marcella Theffert, also from Dangerous Minds. And originally there was a fourth ethnic cast role, written role, and I really was talking it over with Sly, and I said, you know, I really think one of these guys ought to be white. And he said, well, my son is a good actor. He was in Rocky V. And I called Sage in, and I met this charming, sweet, very, very vulnerable and soft-spoken young man. And I gave the part to Sage because he earned it.
Sage made me very nervous because I said, oh my God, here's my own flesh and blood in here, and he's playing a character that's other than my son, and I was very worried about it. But he had a sense of humor about it. First day he came in, I think he cut himself and hurt himself, and I said, welcome to action. And from that day on, he was great.
Working with him, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because he's, man, I don't know how many times, but this guy cracks joke after joke after joke. It's so hard to get in character. Or when you're around him, you know, he's like, hey, you cannot get in character. He can just snap in like that because he's had, you know, 30 years of experience. You know, he's been doing it forever.
I'd seen Amy Brenneman on the first year of NYPD Blue, and she's beautiful, but she's beautiful in a real way.
I thought that the key to this movie was having extraordinarily adept actors that had their own personalities, and Amy brought us, you know, a kind of intelligence and freshness to it.
What attracted me to the part was the idea of working on a film of this scale with somebody like Stallone and with somebody like Rob, who I felt was very interested in having me have a full-fledged character. So it was sort of the best of both worlds.
We spent 9 months getting here. We're going to spend the next 108 days making it real. So I'm really proud to be with you all. We're now one group, one family, going out to make this picture. And action! In a sense, the tunnel is like a giant alien in that it has swallowed these people, but now it's trying to digest them.
It's the exact replica of one of the more famous tunnels in New York. It's been painstakingly researched down to the tiles, and the fact that it's been built to handle an ocean of water and the cave-ins. This tunnel is really a miracle of engineering. I've never seen a set like it.
I scouted every possible place in the world to make this movie. Originally, I wanted to go back to Eastern Europe because I knew I could make the movie cheaper there. but Sly didn't really want to go to Eastern Europe, so we tried England, we tried North Carolina, South Carolina, lots of Florida. And it turned out that Cinecittà in Rome was the best suited place because it had this very big backlot, completely flat, where we built a fifth of a mile of the tunnel. And next to it was this tank, which was perfect for us as a water reservoir when we needed to do the flood scenes. And Cinecittà also has 16 stages, of which I think 9 have tanks. So they were really well equipped to do a water movie, which is what this ultimately was, you know. So it turned out that we ended up in Cinecittà, and it worked very well. The most difficult thing was to build this section of tunnel in such a way that we could use one, otherwise we would have probably had to build 2, because there's so many things that have to happen. And I think we had something like 7 or 8 revamps where we had to move the crew out, change the tunnel to the next stage, and move it back in.
I said to my production designer, Benjamin Fernandez, we have to think of this tunnel as one long alimentary canal, one long digestive tract of some beast. So Benjamin basically had to create an entire world of the tunnel mouths, the plazas, the road beds. We built up on top of Cinecittà, and with Illusion Arts, Sid Dutton and Bill Taylor, we made the mats that brought the Hudson River, the boats, the helicopters, the New Jersey shore, the mid-river buildings, all that was added.
What happens, and it almost happened in the late 40s, is there's a collision in the tunnel. One truck is carrying toxic waste, which happens all the time illegally. And then there's another person who is trying to escape from the police. There's an accident that happens. The truck is hit from behind by the 2 perpetrators. A fireball occurs, and then it seeks air. So the tunnel becomes like a gun barrel, and it rolls over all these hapless victims, microwaving its way to the very end of the tunnel, where it causes a collapse. And there's no way into this tunnel. Basically, these people have been sealed and buried alive.
The first step I did was, as always with these complicated sequences, I got with Nikita Natz, my storyboard artist, and I began to storyboard and graph where each survivor was going to be, who was going to go into the tunnel in which sequence, where were they going to be when the fire happened. But once you get it down to a sequence of 100 shots, and you know you're going to try to make it like a 2-minute sequence, a very long explosion, not your typical movie explosion, it became much more complex and needed the combined input of Kit West, my on-set effects supervisor, of Scott Farrar and Joe Lettieri from ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, who would work with me on all the CG fire. And Grant McCune, perhaps the greatest model builder in the world, and Sid Dutton and Bill Taylor, who also would have enormous amount of computer work to do, as well as the miniature photography and some blue screen elements to be involved with. And to bring Illusion Arts, ILM, Grant McCune Design, and Kit West Effects, and me into a committee that began to relentlessly pick apart each board, how it could be done safely.